By early evening, most of the light had pulled away from Akira's apartment, leaving the room in that blue-gray in-between that screens seemed designed to colonize. He liked it better that way, curtains half-drawn, city muted behind glass. Outside Tokyo was early spring cool, the air carrying a hint of lingering winter when he cracked the window an hour ago. Inside, the desk lamp and dual monitors did most of the work. On the left screen, his audio tools. On the right, a small bare-bones forum in a browser window, white background, default fonts, one thread. Strange glitch during channel removal. He'd been halfway through cleaning up dialogue for a client when the link had dropped into a small, quiet group chat he followed more for technical curiosity than community. A handful of riggers, editors, and audio people who notice things. Hey, Sundown, you're going to want to see this. End of Echo Nocturne's last stream, something's off with the audio. That had been enough. He pulled the clip, tucked the client's audio into a pause state, and opened a fresh project. Now the waveform from Echo's final 30 seconds stretched across the bottom of his left screen, peaks and valleys he'd spent the last 20 minutes reading more closely than was strictly reasonable. He scrubbed back 2 seconds from the end and pressed play. Soft room tone, Echo's voice low, a final line delivered in that calm cadence he recognized from the few streams he'd caught, then a spike. He watched it on the waveform before he listened to it. A sharp vertical jump just before the blackout. He looped the half second around it and listened again, this time through his studio headphones. Low volume, it could have passed for static. He raised the gain carefully, nudging up until it sat just below uncomfortable. There it was, a breath, close to the mic, too close. Not the diffused, distant inhale he'd heard from her before. He'd sampled her streams once out of curiosity, mostly to admire the noise floor work. That breath had been sharper, nearer, with the acoustic footprint of a mouth maybe a hand width from the microphone. He muted the audio. On the right monitor, he scrolled the thread. Northbridge. Did anyone else see a white page flicker when Echo's channel went down? London fog. I saw the same thing, white screen, broken text. Vale Cruise. White flicker here too, animation stutters, something's off. Meridian line, cross-referencing with my local copy, same anomaly around 01-23-19 stream time. Doesn't look like a simple frame glitch. He glanced down at his own timeline. He'd already marked the critical point. 01-23-19.04, voice baseline. 0.19, breast spike. 0.43, bow onset. 0.50 hair behavior shift, and 0.53 blackout, all within a half a second. He switched back to the forum apply box. He wasn't usually one of the first voices in any thread. He preferred coming in later when there was enough data to form a picture, but they were already talking about flickers and glitches and creepy vibes. What they didn't have yet was a clear statement about the audio. His fingers rested on the keyboard. He typed. Not device interference. Running a spectrogram now. I'll post anything unusual I find. He hit post. He watched it for a moment, his handle Sundown looking more exposed in that white space than it ever did in chat logs. Then he turned back to the work. He soloed the end of the clip, applied a high-pass filter, and then a gentle notch to pull down some room noise. The breath stayed. It wasn't an artifact riding on other frequencies. It was its own signal. He opened the spectrogram view. Color swept across the grid, blues, greens, and a thin streak of yellow where the spike hit harder. The breath occupied a narrow band, stronger at the mid-high frequencies than her usual exhale signature. He pulled up a reference file he saved from an older stream for a different reason months ago. He didn't know why he kept things like that, habit maybe, or the sense that nothing stayed purely entertainment once he started listening to it. Side by side, the difference was obvious. Her normal inhale, softer, broader, slightly rolled off as if she turned her head away from the mic. Or it was set a bit further back. This one, direct, compressed, too sharp on the leading edge. He took a slow breath of his own through his nose, matching the rhythm, not hers. On the right monitor, the thread updated, Northbridge. Is anyone getting audio anomalies at the very end? My recording has a weird breath right before the blackout. Sundown exhaled slowly through his nose. Yes, that was exactly what he'd been staring at for the past 10 minutes. He turned back to the spectrogram and zoomed into the 01-23-19 region, isolating the spike. The breath remained clean, contained, unmistakably close to the mic. He took a quick screenshot out of habit more than anything and dropped it into a folder he labeled without much thought, Echo Last Stream Refs. The fan in the corner clicked once as it rotated, paused at the far edge of its arc, then swung back. Outside, a train rumbled faintly along an evening track. He set a marker at the start of the breath and another at the first frame of the bow. The time difference sat on the screen, a third of a second. He murmured it under his breath, grounding himself. 0.28, 0.3. He checked it again, different tool, same result. Roughly 0.3 seconds between the audio spike and the visible motion, in the wrong order. It wasn't just unusual, it was structurally impossible for a normal live rig. He switched back to the forum just as the new entry appeared above the reply box. Sundown. Confirmed bow animation fires before the last syllable, about an 8-frame lead. That's not normal behavior for her model. He sat back, letting the numbers settle into place. That confirmed the visual anomaly, cleanly and undeniably. Now he needed to understand the auditory side with the same precision. He returned to his spectrogram window and expanded the heat map, isolating the band around the spike. The colors rippled outward from the sharp frequency line like a bruise, too narrow to be environmental noise, too structured to be interference. Refreshed the render, zoomed in again. The spike didn't distort under higher resolution. If anything, it sharpened. He opened his reference archive and pulled up a dozen older streams he'd saved for analysis back when Echo's timing fascinated him. He played the inhalation samples back to back, tracking the curve of each breath with the measured eye of someone who cared about tiny things most people ignored. Her usual pattern, soft rise, round peak, taper. The new spike, vertical, no taper, immediate drop. Someone else, someone closer. He jotted a quick note in a markdown file. Breath spike 01, structure does not match baseline. The fan rotated again, clicking twice this time, old bearings, old apartment. He rubbed his temple with the back of his knuckles, eyes tired but focused. He performed a drift analysis out of habit, checking whether Echo's model rig had shown even a hint of early misalignment in past VODs. Nothing. She'd been stable for months. He switched to a different tool, a motion curve inspector, and ran the bow frame through a skeleton overlay. The anticipation frame shouldn't have fired until her final syllable. Instead, it jumped early like a flinch. He leaned closer to the monitor. "Why would you move before the audio hits?" he muttered. A new thought surfaced, an unpleasant one, and he stilled. What if the model moved because she did? Outside, dusk had slipped fully into Tokyo evening. A train screeched faintly around a distant bend. Someone shouted down the street. Wind rattled a loose bicycle chain tied to a pole below his window. He rewound the clip again. Breath, spike, bow, blackout. Perfectly aligned, but in the wrong direction. He returned to the forum, cursor hovering. His earlier post about visual anomalies stood alone. No one had drawn the connection yet. He hesitated, not because he doubted himself, but because he preferred accuracy over speed. He checked the spectrogram one last time, then the timeline, then the curve. All the evidence pointed the same way. Finally, he typed. Audio spike lines up exactly with the bow offset. Hard to blame that on lag alone. He took off his headphones and let them rest around his neck, the earpads pressing lightly against his collarbone. If he closed his eyes, he could see the spectrogram in his mind. He'd done this long enough that certain patterns imprinted. Compressor misuse, cheap interfaces, cable buzz, urban noise leaking in through closed windows. This didn't look like any of those. This looked like someone breathing too close to the microphone in a room that had gone suddenly, sharply still. He shook the thought away and reached for the glass of barley tea beside the keyboard. It had gone lukewarm. He drank it anyway. On the Discord window he left open in the background, a new message popped up. Any verdict yet, Sundown? Glitch, mic, haunted mic, LOL. He didn't answer. Not yet. He turned instead to a frame-by-frame breakdown of the motion. He split the video track into 2 layers and overlaid a simple grid. At 01:23:19.43, Echo's avatar bowed. At point 49, the hair dipped in a way that didn't match the normal arc he'd tagged in earlier streams. There was a subtle compression, a downward pull, then blackout. He dragged in an older clip and lined them up side by side for comparison. Baseline behavior, drift, float, settle. New behavior, float, sudden dip, hard stop. He flagged the difference and saved the project. Then he opened the forum again. Meridian Line had written about the sync offset. Northbridge was considering a shared document. London Fog mentioned logging breath patterns. Someone named Ray had chimed in about feeling that Echo reacted before the model did. Names and cities stacked against UTC, forming a rough outline of a world working on the same problem. This time he found himself typing again before he'd fully decided what he wanted to say. His fingers settled on the keys. Agree. The early bow plus hair drop plus breath plus blackout all stack within less than a half a second. That's a lot for just a glitch. He let his gaze hover over the words for a second, then hit post. He leaned back for the first time in what felt like hours. His chair creaked faintly. The room was darker now. The only light came from the screens and a faint spill from the hallway. He stared at the spectrogram one more time, then at the waveform, then at the frame view with the bow frozen mid-motion. He tried to rerun the scenario like any other technical issue. Bad cable? No, the noise profile didn't match. Crossfade artifact? No, the breath sat too cleanly in its own band. Network lag? No, that didn't rearrange cause and effect like this. He wasn't interested in horror stories or speculation about missing streamers or people assigning narrative weight to what might have been a dozen unrelated glitches. That part of the internet never appealed to him. But systems either behaved or they didn't. And when they didn't, there was a reason. He took a final screenshot of his spectrogram window, labeled it with the time and date, and filed it away. Then he closed his eyes just for a moment, listening to the ambient hum of his room. Fan, fridge, faint traffic, the soft whir of his PC fans. Nothing unusual. He opened his eyes again to the frozen frame of Echo's avatar mid-bow. It wasn't proof of anything by itself, but it was a point on a map, and as far as sundown was concerned, the map was starting to take shape.